So it's me today, and on Bumper to Bumper Radio, we are helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. So if you got car questions, we've got answers. So we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text your car questions to 411-923, and I'm still saying we, because even though Matt is out, I've got Jon Riggle, our lead diagnostician at Tri-City Transmission, in to help me help you with your car. So today we're going to do a little bit of fact or fiction in regard to air condition in your vehicle, open phones and texts, of course, and air conditioned service. John, it's getting to be that time of year where air conditioned service is a big deal. I always like to ask you these questions because you've been doing this a long time.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Well, how has air-conditioned service changed from the good old days? What is the biggest thing that's changed that you would say? I mean, the modern car, even go back 20 years.
Yeah, air conditioners have got better. They work better.
They work way better.
They work better. The only issue that we have is the system capacity's got smaller. So leaks are kind of a bigger issue. Systems used to leak more, but now because the systems are so much smaller, small leaks are a bigger percentage of the refrigerant in the system. So it got a little more precise and a little tougher to find really small leaks that can make a difference in systems. So.
Well, we were walking in the elevator, and I talked about the $24 air-conditioned service, and my comment was, "Oh, you don't get nothing for that," and that's not a real deal. And then we started talking more, and some of these $24 services, if someone's really doing that for you, can be a good deal because maybe you're not having a problem with your air condition. And Carrie was mentioning before the show that there's somebody advertising is every year you should evacuate and recharge your air conditioning system, and you said, not necessarily.
Yeah, I'm a little leery about that. Unfortunately, that's probably not a really good idea.
Probably not. So if you know you have an air conditioning problem, I wouldn't expect to go into a shop for $24.95 and get things fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
So what a $24.95, we'll do one at Tri-City Transmission, okay?
Yeah.
What a $24.95 air conditioning check. You're not really having a problem, but you just want to check that out. We're going to check the cabin filter. We're going to mechanically look at the belt that runs the AC compressor and the tensioner. We're going to do a visual leak inspection. You can see leaks because that refrigerant has oil in it. You'll see oil coming out where there's a leak.
Yep.
So we visually check for leaks. We'll throw a temperature gauge inside the vent to see the outlet vent temperatures, and then we'll do a function test. And what's a function test, John?
That's when I check to make sure that all the actuators and the doors move properly. When we command it to the floor, the air's got to come out of the floor. When we command it the vents out of the dash, it's got to come out of the dash. It has to come out of the defroster. We want to make sure the recirc doors work.
Okay, so a functionality test. So airflow is a big part of the deal. The cooling system of the vehicle for the engine. If that's not working right, the air conditioning's not going to work right.
Absolutely.
So that's a big deal. Also, the cooling fans.
Yeah.
Are the cooling fans coming on? So we want to make sure that's working. And then, one of the things that happens on cars, you get this new car, and the first thing you do is you pull over a curb. And this one has a little lower front end, and the last one, it goes, and you go, that didn't sound good. And then when you back up, that little piece of rebar that's sticking out of that bumper just rips the air dam up underneath the car off. And so now it's dragging on the ground, so you swing by the auto shop and they just tear that thing off. They go, I get that fixed at some point. Well, you forget about it. Well, now your air conditioner is half as efficient as it used to be because it changed the airflow through that radiator and through that condenser for the air conditioner. So air dams, we look for that. So that would be what you're getting for a $24.95 AC service. There's not a ton going on, but some of the basic stuff, you're not having a problem. But we wouldn't necessarily subscribe to evacuate and recharge every year.
No.
Why would you say that?
We wind up with issues trying to maintain the proper oil balance in the system. Every time you evacuate the system, you pull a little bit of oil out of it. And it's not a very accurate measurement when you measure what you took out. So you can wind up with issues where the system doesn't have the proper amount of oil in it. And that can cause issues down the road.
Okay, so that isn't necessarily a thing. So now there comes a point where you do need to, let's say there is a leak and the system is low on charge, and now we're talking about not a $24 AC service. And a lot of people, this is kind of a they're assuming if you got something wrong with your car, they're going to get you to come in. Maybe you need a compressor, so they're going to offer you this really cheap AC service, and that makes them sell you something to pay for their time.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big believer on that. A good air conditioned service can cost anywhere between $150 and $250, and anywhere in between. And what's that? What would you describe on that? So not only the things we just talked about, but in that case, we're going to do what? Evacuate and recharge.
Evacuate and recharge the system, and
In evacuate and recharge, so people understand who are listening, it's a sealed refrigerant system. So we're sucking it down until it's under vacuum, and then we're going to go ahead and recharge it. And we're going to scale the refrigerant in so we can get the exact charge right on the money.
Right, and what you're gonna look at is the amount you took out versus what the specification for the refill is. That gives you an idea how much has leaked out of the system over a period of time. All systems will leak a little bit of refrigerant over a period of time. The newer systems are sealed fairly well, but you'll lose a little bit out of the system. And you want to be careful about trying to you don't want to continually try to top the systems off. There's no topping systems off anymore.
In the old days, we used to, when a Suburban held 16 pounds of free.
Yeah, you don't get to do that anymore. We're talking about systems with less than a pound of refrigerant in it, and there's no room for error there. You can be off by 10% and the system won't cool. So you got to be right on the money there.
Okay, so a good AC service where they do an evacuate and recharge, that's kind of the price range. Because I know it's that time of year where you're starting to turn your air conditioner on, or maybe been turning it on and you're like, it's kind of cool right now, but it's only 80 degrees out today.
Yeah.
When it's 90 degrees out, when it's 100 degrees out, when it's 110 degrees out, you're going to really know how well your AC system doesn't work. But otherwise, for right now, it seems to be cool. But it's better to handle it now in the milder months for a couple reasons. Shops aren't slam busy with AC repair. I'd rather go to a shop. I don't want to. When a shop is slammed busy, I want to catch them in those comfortable months where they're happy. They don't mind working on the car because it's not 110 degrees in the shop. So you want happy mechanics. So this is a good time to get your air condition looked at. So if the car's 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, the AC service may be that $24 thing if everything's working good and you don't think you have a problem. Now, if the car's 5 years old and it's not working good. You're going to have to get an AC service. And sometimes you may come into us and say, hey, I need a $24 AC checkup. We may look at it and say, no, you actually need a full AC service. We do an evacuate and recharge.
Yeah, and you have to understand, too, that a lot of the newer systems are computer controlled. So a lot of times that additional service involves hooking a scan tool up and looking at you're going to actually watch the pressures and temperatures of the inlets and outlets with the scan tool on a lot of the newer cars. So a lot of that's important. So we step into doing a little bit more on the diagnostic side there.
And it's changed a little bit. You said, in the old days you could look at pressures and know how well a system's working, but now you got these compressors that are variable volume
displacement. Yeah, you can't tell.
You can't tell. Yeah. So they're getting more complex than they used to be, but they certainly work a whole lot better.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some cars where even on their best day, man, they don't make it very cool.
There's some air conditioners that are better than others.
My wife had an 02 Grand Cherokee in 2002, and it had a lot of glass, and at the end of the day, if that thing would sunbake, it literally would take you a half an hour worth of driving before you started to feel cool, even though the system was in good shape.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping her new system is better. She's got a new Grand Cherokee. I'm hoping it's better than the last one as far as AC goes. It's so subjective because to some people, my wife, she goes to movie theater, she takes a jacket with her. I'm like, it's hot out. I can't wait to go freeze in the, and I turn the AC on full blast. It doesn't matter if I'm going on a 3-hour drive; it never comes off of full blast.
So that's where dual zone air conditioners.
Oh yeah,
his
and hers, and hers.
Absolutely.
Well, there's different problems in your air conditioning system to help you. The thing we spent this time talking about was the refrigerant levels, but there's more to it. There's the airflow issues, and we just did a Trailblazer in our shop, and a total of 5 actuators. These are little electric motors that open and close doors in order to mix hot and cold air, in order to move it from the feet to the vents on the dash up to the defrost. And we had to pull the whole dashboard out of that car in order to change out 2 of those motors. And the motors themselves were probably 60, 70, 80 bucks a piece.
Yeah.
But it was the full day's time to take the dashboard out, put it all back in. all that type of stuff. So we got airflow issues, we got refrigerant issues, we also have control issues. So your air conditioner may not be working. It could be just a matter of a bad pressure switch, not working right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see control. There's an HVAC controller,
Yeah.
that we can talk to with our scanners. There's a lot of pieces there. So in the old days, you just assume it was low on refrigerant. That was pretty simple. Yeah. Throw some more juice in there, make that thing work again. And I remember my dad pulling out the one can and the short little 12-inch hose or whatever, and just plug that thing in, and that's just what you did.
Oh yeah.
Those days are long
Those days
since
are
gone.
gone. Yeah.
And the other thing, if you are getting a major AC repair, some people are getting a new condenser, a new compressor, all that stuff. I'm a big fan of buying good parts. And what I mean by that is if there's a perfectly good compressor that you can buy from Honda or from General Motors, something like that, or even from their original equipment supplier, that's fine. I'm not a big fan of some of these aftermarket, cheap compressors that, even at their best, aren't going to work great, but they only last 2 years.
They only last 2 years, and that's a big dollar item.
Absolutely.
No matter how you slice it.
So you're not happy to spend the money the first time. You're certainly not going to be happy to spend it the second time. So when we come back, we've got open lines at 602-277-5827.